outsiders, you just can't underestimate them. You have to fight for everything.
I don't even think James realizes he can actually save. He probably feels like there's presence in the B-bomb site, but the clutch is on.
He picks up that one. Oh no! Out of this world! James! Are you kidding me?
The way that Outsiders plays forces their opponents to kind of come into their world and adapt to their play style and play the game on their terms.
Outsiders tested again and again by Mouseport, but they have proven indestructible.
Just slinking away. And back to touch! Shush! Outstanding against Furia!
Just silenced the entire arena right there with that play.
One thing that's been really special about Heroic in this major is through this playoff run, you've seen them start to get more comfortable within themselves, and it feels like they no longer entirely rely on Cadian. And then you also add in the fact that just all the pieces seem to be gelling, and that seems to have activated a lot of their players and a lot of their guys to be very, very powerful.
One of Furia separate from the pack. Cadian! Cadian finds three!
And he's played this open angle, taking down Exertion. Frozen's on the other side, and James, he will steal it away from them.
Outsiders versus Heroic, your eyes do not deceive you. This is a major grand final, best of three. Just to remind you where we are, we're all the way down here in Rio de Janeiro. We're about ready to jump off from the Mirage. An overpass guaranteed, and if we need it, we go to the ever-coveted third map of Inferno. Only fitting in a grand final, of course. And joining me here on the desk will be Maniac and YNK. Guys, we have to talk about Mirage right out of the gate. Obviously one of the most balanced maps in the game. But where does your hat lie, Yanko?
Outsiders, man. I had them, from the start all the way. I think the one thing, when you look at playing against them and their style is like they're so good with the economy, it's actually a must almost for you to win the pistols,
yes.
right? Or at least win one of the pistols, because if they get the pistols and get that initial boost to their economy to kick things off, it's going to be a nightmare to play against them.
The first few rounds of a grand final here at the major are so important for you to immediately get into the mindset that you want to be in, to get into that flow state that we talk about so much at the desk. You're never going to have the chance again. You're never going to replay the pistol round again. This is your one time, your one opportunity. It's a clash of style, Trace. It's Cadian, it's James, it's unstoppable force meets immovable object.
Yeah, and they say sometimes the best defense is offense or something vice versa. Truth be told, in this moment, Yanko, getting out in front of the rolling ball is probably the most important thing you can do. And if that means winning pistol rounds, that means winning pistol rounds.
Yeah, and we've seen, Outsiders win in a number of different ways. We've seen them come back into games. We've seen them, just edge out in close games. We see them stomp opponents as well, right? They have multiple ways to win. I feel like they're the better team, and they have more things ironed out at this moment in time. But Heroic and the emotion with which they play, it's similar to Furia in a sense of if they do catch fire, if they do get hot, if they find that hot hand, if Cadian gets in the zone, right, with his reads, with his gambles and whatnot, and wins a couple of crucial rounds that way, that's a way in for Heroic.
Look, how do we know all of these players are about to show up and play their best Counter-Strike? Why do we think it's a given that you just show up on the stage and play the best? You have the double F for Outsiders, the fame and flit. We just take it for granted. We thought we're going to show up here, they're going to display the absolute best. Hell, that's something that you have to prove.
It's true.
Standby.
But I think the scene is set perfectly for everyone to just come in and play, right? You've made it to the final, the pressure is not as big. The crowd is there, it's going to be loud, it's going to be great, but not insanely loud like when you play against Furia, and it's just going to come down to who executes better. As we always say, it's a cliche, but those couple of crucial rounds in every Counter-Strike map that decide who wins or loses, who has more poise, who is more calm in those situations is the team that's going to come out on top.
And when we talk about a game being a marathon, then let me make it very clear for you. A grand final is time exponential 10, because you spend so much energy, mentally speaking, and it is so draining to be living these moments, the high highs and the low lows. That is the bread and butter of Outsiders, because they know how to run on just pretty much cruising altitude, autopilot, having a good time, using the energy when they have to. That is going to be a challenge for Heroic to be able to maintain that.
And losing one round here or not converting there, Yanko, that can be devastating.
Absolutely, but I want one thing, Trace,
What's that?
What I want for this final. I want these teams to stay true to themselves and their identity. I don't want all of a sudden to see outsiders, go for 3v4 retakes because they feel pressure that the game is slipping out of their hands. I don't want Heroic to sort of freeze and see them as flustered as they were in moments in that Furia game yesterday, right? If we can avoid that from happening, we're going to have a really, really good final here.
Yeah, and I mean, just moments away from getting that going. Obviously, one side of the stage, not necessarily like the other, in multiple different ways. We talk about stylistic playoffs or stylistic matchups here in the plays, and I think this is a good inverse of each other.
Yeah, to bring it on to Mirage itself, right? We've been talking about it in almost every Outsiders game, I feel like, right? Yes, it's default. They sprinkle in a bit of, remember the Fnatic game, the one in the quarterfinal? There was a B rush in there. There was a fast, kind of A default that was almost an A pop in the middle of the half. So at that point, you played a little bit slow. You've done a couple of fast rounds. What does that do to your opponent? Well, if your opponent's playing slow, you're telling your teammates, hey, let's save nades a little bit. Let's wait so we can counter them in the late round. If they're playing fast, you're going to say, guys, you use your nades early. Let's not keep losing, to these fast plays. Let's play a little bit more cohesive, right? But if they're doing both and beating you, what do you do, right? Like you have to make a decision. That's where Outsiders, that's where Jame gets to be one step ahead of you.
And when Yenko is talking about teams staying true to their identity, it is the department of the game that we have to keep an eye on. It's information gathering.
Okay.
It's going to be key in here. Because what do you expect from Heroic? You expect them to push on the CT side, grab information. But Outsiders, they're patient. They're waiting for you. Come, please. Here, follow the crumb, little mouse. Come here to me. I'm just waiting there. I have all 40 seconds to play this round, but you feel like you need to get information because that's the DNA of Heroic. And this right here is going to be a microcosm of conflict for these two teams.
And that is also the DNA of Heroic, aggression on the CT side. We used to talk about them a year and a half ago. A team that gets 1-for-1 trade on the CT side, they're happy with that. We always say that's a disadvantage for the CTs. They have to cover more ground with less players. But as long as they're the one dictating the pace, making the plays, getting the information, they're fine with that. So I do expect them, for example, I think the way to go against Outsider here, if you're playing the CT side, is you go for mid fights early, right? You deny them that mid control early. The problem is you need to find the pace to do it.
Yes.
You go for an instant flash play through the connector smoke, right? Turn off the molly, flash comes in, you swing, or you kind of wait for them to catch them as Fane is coming up from underground. That's the mind games, that's the chess game that we have in this game. Because if you just fall back or if you focus on the sides, they're really good at punishing that aggression. The T-side anchors on the sides are really good at that. James, it's almost like he knows when to go B with the op and just wait for that boost up or the push into B apartment.
And in doing so, we talk about taking extremities of the map. For the newer viewer at home, Maniac, if you wouldn't mind, kind of explaining what that means when we talk about extremities, mid, but moreover the control of those areas. How pivotal is that to controlling a map and dictating the fights?
Well, I think that Counter-Strike in itself has evolved in impressive ways in the last few years, Trace, because for the viewers that are a little bit new, there used to be a time where a team on the T side would basically send a group of 4 people trying to grab some map control, and you'd have one lurker, let's call him the Rat for the purpose of the explanation, he'd be on the side.
Or get
there we go. That's out there. The shots have been fired.
Well, no, because that was the 4-1, the initial NIP 4-1. Let's just do something.
That.
Get right lurks, get 3 kills within the round.
Or the warded 4-1 is the bomb out the door and the 4 others go out the other way.
And this was the baseline Counter-Strike Trace. But now we've evolved completely. We've changed the parameter. We've changed the paradigm, even if you allow me to.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I did.
No, you
and
didn't.
Shifted the paradigm. I cannot believe
and
it.
I have no shame.
The terminus is here.
The key, please. The key now for the CT side is to be able to decipher what the hell is going on, because the signals are being mixed. You don't really know. Teams have become really good at masking their intentions and masking how many players are taking what part of the map. You hear a couple of flashes, you say, oh, it's probably just one guy taking information. Boom! Joke's on you. Surprise! There's 4 people in front of you, or the other way around.
But Yenko, just in that same sort of evolution of the game, we're talking about multi-layered approaches here. Not just simply telegraphing, but hey, a smoke on this side of the map, well, maybe they're already looking at what they normally do on the other side of the map. It's a complete mind game in that regard.
Here's the thing, Trace. These teams have become so good at the game and kind of understanding the fundamentals, the basics, and what this combination of smokes most probably means. Now the point is you have to disguise what you want to do, right? So what you're trying to do basically on Mirage, you're trying to maybe throw the mid smokes and just have enough presence and throw enough utility that, for example, to Heroic it looks like, this is the default. They have 2 guys top mid, 1 guy underground. Let's just go flash play, guy peek out cat or double swing connector, and let's go for the fight. And that's the exact time that you're faking it and you just have like 2 guys walk out AAPs, 2 guys walk out slow. You have like a 3v1 there or a 4v1. You get the trade, you smoke off jungle after that, or smoke off top con, molly jungle, right? And that's how you take the side. So it's all about getting the reads and like those small minutia, you know, the details. How do you figure that stuff out?
And Janko is talking about reads. People have to understand at home, the grand final of the major is the most prepared game that any team will ever go through. The amount of research that has to be put in it. You need to know all the single details of the opponent. But it also means that if you're able to throw a spanner in the works earlier on, you might just throw everybody off on a wild turn, a wild move, because what if your preparation just turns out to be wrong? After first one, say, guys, they're not doing what you prepared.
Yeah, and you know, Janko, you brought this up yesterday, and it was a fantastic idea. If you're the side of Heroic, you had just a few less hours than, say, Outsiders. Hell, call up Kerrigan, call up everybody in Denmark, bring all the boys together, let's get all the homework going at one time.
Let's just send a voice message, starts with the Danish anthem. Your country needs you.
We need you now.
Watch a couple of demos of this map. No, but listen, that might even turn out to play out in their favor, right? Because there's a thing called paralysis by analysis, right? If you dig in too deep into these details, you're sort of like overwhelm your players with information, and you find yourself in a situation, I'm sure you've been in these ones maybe, where you have your guy saying in freeze time, watch out for B rush, A rush, mid default, double fake.
Oh,
it's
so
like,
everything.
Dude, so everything. It's like, you know, like if you're telling me that in preparation, you're not telling me anything. You're just like overwhelming me with needless information.
And that is what we like to talk about when we refer to being ready to put on the best show in the grand final. Being able to deal with that situation. You or James have one of the long-lasting relationship with his coach, of course, with Dastan. They've been together for so long. I'm sure they've learned how to work together, how to kind of rehash that information. You know, what is it that you need? We have talked about the arc of James, not only as a leader but as a player, finding his footage again individually. What does that mean? Dastan maybe taking a bit more work with the other, you know, the Turtle Ninja work with his walking around with his
Master Splinter.
That's what he's doing right now, exactly. So James can focus on his game and be an MVP potential right now.
And also that semi-final game against Mouse yesterday, right? I think for this final, you know, that they won that game, the overpass loss is a good thing for them. It was a bit of a wake-up call, right?
Surprise.
Because we do say Outsiders the hardest team to put away in Counter-Strike, but it seems like they're also not amazing at closing out games themselves sometimes, right? So that was, I think that was definitely, you feel like the emotional high of Jane winning a 1v3. You're up 14-11, right? On CT side of overpass, one of your best maps is just going to happen on its own, and it doesn't. And you need an element of mental fortitude, psychological strength to still be, you know, level-headed coming into the third map, and they put on a clinic there. So I think that really helps coming into this one to always know until we hit that 16, we can't relax, we can't take anything for granted.
And play till the whistle's blown, essentially, you know, and to put it in like a traditional sports terminology, Maniac.
No, you're completely right. And sometimes you don't get the luxury of having such a warning sign and then you actually bounce back. I'm looking at the list of teams that Outsiders had to face up until that point, and I think you can make the argument Heroic had a harder road to the grand final. We're talking for the likes of Outsiders beating Mouse, beating Fnatic, Mouse again, in comparison to the likes of Cloud9, Furia at home, mind you, Spirit as well. I think a Heroic had a harder path to being here, but here's what's great about Counter-Strike. It doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter what you think.
And this is interesting for me because, you know, I like to say in playoff games when we do Cologne or Katowice or whatever, you know, I like to go with a team that has like the best player, like the star player, or, you know, like FaZe over Cloud9. I'm going for FaZe because FaZe has the experience. Didn't really work out.
No, that is,
you know, lately. But here's the thing: in this game, there's not really that sort of a pick. I mean, you could maybe make a case for Jane with the way he's been playing in this tournament and that he's been around for a longer time, but there's no like clear superstar. There's no Simple, there's no Zywu, there's no Nico, right, in this sort of a series, no Device and so on. So it's just like two teams. You mentioned the floor for Heroic. I think one of Outsiders' strength is their floor is really high. You know, they're a fist, they're a unit, 5 players working together. Everyone needs to contribute in their style because you're constantly adapting to what Jane thinks is the weakness of your opponent. Sometimes you have to enter. Norbert had a sick T-side on Ancient against Mouse yesterday, right? In other games, it's maybe Flit or Fame, so it all depends. Everyone has to come ready to play, and hopefully that happens for them today.
Look, you're not wrong, but that statement kind of precludes the idea that Kicker is actually going to start playing Counter-Strike because he has been extremely limited to what the tournament. But we talked with Dastan, actually, one of these media days, we had a conversation, and he said, listen, it doesn't matter where Kicker is actually in the tournament right now, because I know that when the times come and someone has to make the difference, someone has to take the risk, Kicker will actually do it. Now, we've had the talk, it's time to walk the walk here in the grand final.
Remember the round against Mouse on Ancient, where it's like a trade, they trade, I think Outsiders are in a 3v4 at that point, or 2v3, and he pushes on the CT side, he pushes through the smoke in CT, swings behind site, and gets the 2 kills with the AK with the spray down. That's like a BDP, man. That's like, I'm feeling confident, I'm just gonna push through the smoke, swing, because if I wait here and play too passive, they've got the round, they can position themselves, and it's over.
And you know, we like educating the newer viewers, and I think it's only fitting, Maniac, did you explain what a BDP is?
Basically, it's what we call the burning deep water, is when you commit to a play, and you got to burn your toes. You got to burn your toes because it's too deep of a play. That's what it is.
And it has to be said, like, yes, Kickert is the lowest performer for Outsiders in this tournament, but still an 0.95 rating.
Yeah.
Like, that's not horrendous. It's not great, but it's not horrendous. And, you know, with how well James, Flit, and Fame have been playing, right? Like, that's fine. I feel like if he plays on that level, like 0.5, 1 rating, as long as he's not a liability, and it's important to not be one because he's the anchor on a lot of spots, I feel like that's going to be fine. Outsiders are going to be fine.
Now, for the side of Heroic, we saw yesterday they endured a little bit of hardship there against a double op set up on the CT side. I don't think they're going to run into that same problem today, Maniac. Does that seem fair?
That seems fair. I'd be surprised to see Outsiders yield that double AWP, although James is kind of a bit tricky to find where it is. But there is something that Outsiders have over Heroic, if you allow me quickly, is that
yeah, absolutely.
On the side of Heroic, none of them know what it is to lose a grand final at the major. In fact, this unknown is terrifying. They're probably terrified of the idea of losing a grand final. James and Kickert both know what it is. They've had a grand final when they got stomped on, they couldn't even play their game, and they bounced back and they're here. And I guarantee you, as a player, you feel differently about the situation. Because what was it that was your worst nightmare? You actually known, you've actually faced, you've survived it, hell, you're back at it.
But I do believe, I don't know which one of you said it, it feels like vindicating for them to be back, because they absolutely were not ready. It was Maniac, you know, in that Berlin Grand Final. I think that was a David versus Goliath game trace, right? But now it's been, you know, a couple of years. They've gotten better. They've figured things out. You go on and you learn, right, over time. You don't even know why you're losing some games until you actually lose them, and you watch back and you see how teams are outplaying, and you're getting like a little bit from this team, a little bit from this game, a little bit from that, and you're like putting everything together to become what you are now, which is a really freaking good Counter-Strike team. But another point that you said is like, this is actually that I haven't really thought about this. It's like Outsiders don't really have a secondary opera. You know, when you look at it, like, I don't even know, maybe Flit has taken it up a couple of times on a map like that, CT side, right? Like, but they don't really have anyone who likes doing it to the extent where Heroic, or especially on a map like Mirage, Stone on the secondary op can be a menace.
Yeah, and Ston menacing in his own ways when he comes to the server. He came to life yesterday. And then obviously we talk about what it takes for both sides. That double op not there, but the op is still consistent in the hands of James, for the most part. Then you look at Cadian on the other side. If we talk about op v op, and in terms of its impact, it's there. It goes without saying, Maniac. But what are you expecting? What are you anticipating?
I'll definitely be key players. Now, I will say the man that we have on our screen right here, Cadian, his style is probably the hardest to put in motion once you're faced with the pressure of a grand final, because he's got a very proactive, a very risky, very explosive side where you can get absolutely shut down. I think that James, with his position in the play style and his reads, might have a bit more opportunities to just slowly warm up, get to this. You be in the right position, you clip that guy's shoulder, you have a good crosser placement, you warm it up. But Cadian, he can just go missing.
And Heroic's results speak volumes to that as well. He's been great. He's been tremendous in their wins. But it's when he's gone missing is in their losses, so the correlation is really there. And I think, of course, very aggressive and has to do that, but if it doesn't work out, then it can become a problem for
Pedro Kerrigan. That's Kerrigan. That's the voicemail from Kerrigan.
That is. Oh, look, Coldzera's in the crowd, but obviously, not Kerrigan, channeled by Carriesley through Cadian, Danish, of course. Just getting the crowd hyped up here. We are just a few moments away, I'm being told. Just a few things to settle. And until then, we're trying to settle some of the dust between the two teams. Again, we talked about it. It's not a clear-cut game, Yanko.
Just let me know, Trace, you know, if things are really getting messed up, I can just run over there and fix the technician for you.
Oh, well, I don't know that we can. In all of our infinite wisdom and powers, I don't know that this is one that we can fix. Unfortunately for you and me. And
it's better for them if I don't go there and try anything.
Yeah, speaking of the people watching at home, now would be the time that I'll tell you use that hashtag. You know what it is, hashtag IEM. IEM short for the Intel Extreme Masters. If you're just tuning in for the first time, this is the major grand final, a best of 3, and it all comes down to this. We started with 24 teams. We are left with just 2 in the Outsiders and Heroic, representing 2 totally different parts of the world.
Trace, think about it. I'm going to throw in the loop.
What you got?
Let's address the elephant in the room. There's obviously a bit of a delay right now. There's a bit of technical issue. We don't like to talk about it, but we should.
Okay.
Here's the thing. As a player, how do you handle this?
Oh, dude, the anticipation, the nerves.
You have been walking in through that path. You had this crazy video. People are cheering for you. You're walking up to the stage. You're ready to get set, and then suddenly you cannot. So all of the works that they have pre-done before, you know, they can do imagination, they can visualization. There's a bunch of exercise you can do psychologically. All that goes down the drain. You have to come back to your own protocols because now you've been stewing and waiting, and that in itself is also one of the challenges of being a player. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, it's one thing to jump in the server and play. It's another thing to have the adrenaline sort of subside or wear off. That's when the shakiness comes in. That's when you find out, hey, you know what? The body is being tested right now in this moment. People say, oh, it's a video game. No, homie. This is real life, Yanko.
Yeah, I think, you know, personally, I've always hated it because, you know, you've done everything you could. You've done your prep. You've briefed the team. The players have, you know, done everything they could, and now you just want to get on with it, right? You just want to get the game started, and at some point, even the running around and warming up, shooting each other becomes redundant too.
Detrimental.
So hopefully we can get it sorted soon. But yeah, at the end of the day, you know, if you're on the team, what you're saying is, hey, we just have to deal with it. It's the same for them like it is for us, right? Let's not let this bring us down. Let's keep the energy high. You know, at the moment, you let people chill a little bit. You know, you don't let anyone get too complacent or anything along those lines, but you want like to have an extra 2-3 minutes when they tell you that everything's ready to kind of hype yourself back up and get yourself in the zone.
So I'll just keep this short, sweet, simple, to the point. Here's what's actually going on. If you take note of the stage right now, okay, you see how there's the little barrier, the little wall there behind Heroic, and it's like, oh, you can't see past that. You can't see the opponent's team being flashed from across the entire stage. Well, if you'll notice, there is only one wall up. And it turns out that's what we're waiting on. So,
so the outside of protection isn't up quite yet. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking over my shoulder just constantly like, is this thing going up? Is it not going up? We're going to play the map? We're not going to play the map? But that is actually what we're waiting on. So, yeah, if you look on your screen right now, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. People all over the place just trying to fix it, and that does keep us going.
It's a really basic concept. Basically, that wall wasn't here. Right? You throw a flash. You just have to look up at your monitor. You see 4 people being flashed. You have information. That's why that wall is here.
I remember the good old days of you know, LAN tournaments in Belgrade face-to-face, right? And you even can't, you have to type out your calls because it's so quiet.
Fake the comm.
It's so quiet that, you know, you can't say, or you fake the comm, or you just look at your opponent and look, if they're typing a lot on the keyboard, that means they're buying.
Oh, no.
If not, that means they're equal. So there were plenty of mind games back in the day when we were still in basements.
Yeah, I mean,
this is a bit of a change of pace.
It is.
Change of scenery.
It's a throwback.
You know, but it all, you know, kind of comes to this, right? Like, this is why we have these things now. Back then, obviously, we're talking about playing in the basement, slightly different parameters and all things considered. A lot less money on the line, I'll tell you that much, Yanko.
Yeah, tell me about it.
But there's a player on that stage who could know all about it. Caden actually played the first major in Counter-Strike. And let me tell you this, first major of Counter-Strike, we were sitting on, you know, these gymnasium chairs. It was probably -5 degrees, and we have here a roll coming on. I thought that was going to be great. It was cold as hell,
Useless
first major, man. We didn't have all the luxury that they have now.
Makes sense the guy was wearing a G2 jersey, so he's not going to win anything.
Yeah, he should have known better before you started opening cases.
It's coming.
What? Should we break it? Are we breaking the news right there? Got a little interference. Yeah, it is kind of interesting to watch these people scramble on the stage. I have to give it to him at this point in time. But you're right. Cadian in his path isn't really something that we've touched entirely upon, but the truth is the guy's been here on the desk. There was a moment where he said, you know what, screw it. I'm not playing anymore. Hell, screw it. I'm going to go play in NA. And now you're in the major grand final.
I mean,
pretty cool.
He played at the first major at the end of 2013, and a year and a half later in Cologne in 2015, he was on the desk.
Yeah.
And then he came back to play. He went to NA a little bit and finally found his way again in the Danish scene with the Danish team. And, you know, I think it's a great sort of an arc, albeit there's a very big stain on his career, in my opinion, with the whole coaching bug scandal.
Definitely.
I think that's going to, you know...
I thought he was going to say it when I played with Cadia. That was a big stain in his resume.
But
he went rogue, let's put it that way.
If you ignore that, then yes, it's like a great story of him sort of just kind of finding himself again and becoming a tremendous leader in a sense of, you know, motivating his team and keeping the team together, a tight group, and, you know, leading them to a major final ultimately.
I mean, again, we talked about Jane being a villain for a little bit, but Kadian definitely got under that microscope just a little.
Well, definitely.
Well, yeah, and also the game yesterday, obviously. But how about this? Remember, you know, the COVID times, and it was Heroic and Gambit at the time who rose like to the top, and we were looking at when we go back to LAN, who's going to like step up, who's going to actually, can they do it on LAN? And I think a lot of people were giving an edge to Cloud9. You know, they were going to be able to do that, but as time goes by, we see that actually Heroic might become a team that's, you know, the better of the two when it comes to LAN
exactly
play.
A surprise, because I think a lot of us, maybe some even people on this very desk, thought that that would never happen. We thought that that was it. We thought Heroic, in many different occasions, showcased, you know, liability, weaknesses, maybe mental frail just a little bit in these games, which is why their run, Kadian's run with his boys, there is actually Heroic, literally. The fact that they were able to defeat the entire arena yesterday, survive the comeback against Furia, now being a grand final, we have to talk about the resilience that you needed to be able to accomplish that, because after map 1, I sold their asses. I sold all my stock. I just shorted all of it. I said, listen, I'm out. I quit that boat immediately, and I was wrong. I was terribly wrong.
Man, not many times do I hear my colleagues up here say, man, I was wrong.
No, we don't do that
we were
usually.
all wrong in this regard. Yanko got the bronze or wooden coin. I'm working on the golden one.
I asked the devs last night, can you guys please like introduce a wooden coin for someone who doesn't get anything right ever?
How did that go?
But also a platinum coin for people who get, you know, the brackets right.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, like skip the group side. Yeah, of course. Still waiting on this game to start. So if you are just joining us, yes, there is a little bit of a delay. Should you have not have noticed that by now, that is what we are waiting on. And ultimately, yeah, guys, the pick'ems haven't gone well for any of us. That's just the case.
We've been having a good conversation. Why do you need to mention the pick'ems at this point?
Well, I mean, we were going down the path. We were going down the path of Heroic and some of the things that happened to them, and I can tell you that's a dark one, man.
I mean, listen, we can circle back to the situation here at the major. The favorites have screwed the pooch. That's what they've done.
Absolutely.
FaZe didn't even touch the playoffs. Hell,
G2 didn't even make it the flight.
G2 missed the flight. Strice wasn't here either. FaZe missed it. Navi lost in quarterfinal. So yeah, you could look at the playoff bracket and say, that's an easy grand final title to get. Hell no. Well, all of these teams are outsiders and Heroic responsible for the other teams not showing up. Absolutely not. It's how Counter-Strike works. It's how Counter-Strike works. It's how strong you are on the day, let's say the weekend or the week max. And these two teams were the best on that week. Hell, they even defeated the crowd, for Christ's sake, for Heroic. What else are they supposed to do that would give them legitimacy in their run?
Yeah, there's entirely too much to grab onto in that small regard, Maniac. And truth is that it is all there for the taking. We talk about any given day these teams can beat each other, but that's just simply not the case.
No.
However, I look at this matchup, and it really does look 50-50 in a lot of different ways.
I mean, listen, this is the best opportunity that either of these teams will probably have to win a major, and this is why this makes this moment so honorable and so crazy to witness, so mad to witness, because that is a golden opportunity.
Yeah, golden opportunity for us to jump over to the telestrator, which is it does look like we will be doing right now. So Yanko, are you down there?
Thank you so much, Trace. Thank you so much, Trace. We're gonna spice it up here a little bit. This is from the Heroic Furia game yesterday. We talked about it. We talked about how Heroic basically were flustered in some of the rounds, right? So 3-3 round, you're gonna see them. They're gonna go for a sort of a mid pop. They're gonna get good trades here. They're gonna get 2 entry kills, right? Get a kill on Serato. Now it's gonna come a second kill on Safe, right? But what happens is Yuri gets a kill in Apps. Now look at the minimap here, basically, right? So you can see where all the players are. This is the last A player for Furia, so this is where kinda it becomes confusing for Heroic. Instead of just speeding up short, just maybe smoking this off, just coming together as a group, right? And focusing on this player just on that one side, they're going to stop for some reason. They're going to slow down. You're going to see mollies flying in towards the pit area. That buys time. Again, if you look at this player, this is Art with the AWP, right? So he's going to have time. He even moved initially towards long. He's going to come back all the way, help Yuri out. He has a smoke and a flash as well. And look how slow this is, how hesitant this is from the side of Heroic, right? Like this killed them absolutely in this round. And there were a couple of rounds in that game yesterday where they were flustered. Now, obviously, this is the first map of that series. You can attribute that to the crowd. You wouldn't expect this to happen this time around, Maniac.
Yes, indeed. Right, Yanko. That is how Heroic looks like when precisely in the watch isn't really working. You know, sometimes we talk about a cog. That's exactly how it can look like when Cadian makes a decision in 2 seconds instead of a half a second. That is the difference. This is literally what it comes down to when it comes to Counter-Strike. You get a kill, and just for half a second you doubt, you second guess yourself. Should we push, should we not? And then you pick in between, and you lose the round. We say Heroic is a team that plays with pace. They play with rhythm. If they miss that rhythm, it can look foolish the way Janko just displayed it.
And that's all in a split second right there, Janko.
Yeah, it's like a second. It's just, this is like, we've had this situation many times. You just say, like, basically, let's speed up. That's what you say in that sort of a situation, or someone will say, that's a third A player, right? Let's just go. Like, all you need to trade, even if he kills 2 and you kill him, like, you have a 2v2 with the bomb down, and you still have time to position yourself before the rotation comes in.
Now, check out the innovation on the stage. We're going to let Maniac commentate this one solo.
What is happening?
It does look like a sort of makeshift answer. Yeah,
it's do-it-yourself solution.
Yes,
that's what
DIY by Maniac.
DIY. Yeah, listen, I think in French we say I have 2 left hands when it comes to that. I wouldn't be able to fix that.
Serbia too. Hey,
we did that. There we go.
Yeah.
2 left hands sounds miserable. Shout out to left-handed people. But
what do you say in English? What's the idiom?
Foot in mouth. I don't know. Like, at this point, like, truly, I get it. I understand. 2 left hands isn't fun for anyone. You got to buy like 2 pairs of gloves rather than just 1. Like, come on, man.
That really sounds cumbersome.
Yeah, it is a bit cumbersome. Speaking of which, that is what we find ourselves in, a tech pause before the tech even got into the game itself. That's just a new one on me, but it does look like they have a solution, which ultimately leads us into the matchup at hand. Again, just to remind the people at home, we do look at our maps in this grand final. And truth be told, we're looking at Mirage, Overpass, and Inferno at this rate, should we need it. Better yet, will we need it, Janko?
I hope we do.
You hope to, for the sake of the final, right, and the matchup and the extremely good CS the teams have been playing, you want to get as much of it as you possibly can, right? But I really feel like Outsiders can close this out 2-0. I feel like they're more diverse than Heroic, like they've played against different sort of styles. I feel that game we've seen in the Legend stage was an outlier, right? Like their T side was extremely weak. I don't expect that to happen this time around. Like, it just feels like a coming of age for this team and for James as an in-game leader, like that everything's coming together in this moment for them.
And there's a tremendous difference when it comes to that Overpass. The obvious, I guess, elephant in the room is the fact that Outsiders were starting on a CT side in that occasion. They're not going to break their teeth against the defense. No, they're going to be on the defense. It's going to be up to Cadian to figure out solutions. So I wouldn't take this first game in the Legend Stick as a reference. In fact, the roles are completely swapped.
And you know, the meta of the game itself does shift, change. You know, we've been talking about the A1S until we're blue in the face. Honestly, though, from a noob perspective, let's say we've got a few noobs tuning in with the 200,000+ people watching on Twitch right now. Tell them what it means to play within the CT and the T side, the offense and defense, basically.
What we currently have with the meta and the Silencer being so strong is that the multi-kill ability for the CTs is ridiculous, right?
Okay.
Because you don't really get a lot of audio cue as to where your opponent is standing, and because of how strong the weapon is, it's very potent. It's very easy for a CT to get a double kill. The trade is a little bit cumbersome. You don't exactly know what the hell is going on. If you have the advantage, that's it. But I will say, Trace, because I've had enough of this CT talk. I've really had enough.
Have you?
It's crazy how actually good teams can muster up good T sides. It's almost as if you play good Counter-Strike, you can find solutions on the T side. And maybe you're just hiding behind the meta because you ain't got no idea how to play.
And if you're Team Brazil, you came in here with full executes over in the show match on trains on the T side.
You think they're going to lose in front of their own
No, of course
crowd,
not.
Trace? Like that, they're never going to let that happen. But yeah, I think as well for a team like Outsider, and the problem with teams having bad T sides is they're not taking the space that's given to them most of the time, right? Like they either have an idea of how they like to play, but sometimes it's like, oh, before we take this part of the map, we need to throw this flash and this smoke and this molly, right? But sometimes it's just they're doing something else on the map, right? So at that point, just take the opposite side, right? It's free, like just take it, and then that applies pressure. Just losing some map control if you're on the CT side, you have to use utility, right? You have to buy time for the rotates to come in, and utility usage is not just about the damage, it's when you use your smokes. What Outsiders do so well, which is like one of the details in the game, is let's say you want to do a mid-round clear of banana as CT, right? What do you do then? Once you're doing the flash play in the mid round, that's when your A player smokes apps, or that's when you smoke mid if you have a mid setup. Why? Because the utility you throw on B to clear it, it's an obvious sign for the T's that you're clearing B, and usually people bring an extra player, right, in order to do that. So their reaction might be, teams like Fnatic used to play like this. If you think they're doing that, let's just group up as fast as we can, hit the other side, because we have strength in numbers, right?
Yeah.
So if they do that, they have to go through a smoke, which gives you, probably you can get 2 kills instead of 1. You can get a kill and buy time. You can buy time for the rotate to come in, for your players who cleared Banana to push behind them. And that's like the level of team play that's next level. You just don't look at what's going on in your sector of the map, right? You're paying attention to what you're trying to accomplish as a team in that round, in that moment, and that's why you see outsiders, we saw it in the Ancient game yesterday, the utility, they block like Mouse, and Mouse has to stop them. They have good timing, but the smoke blocks them, and by the time that smoke clears, there's 2 more players waiting for them to pounce.
So Maniac, is it as simple as saying that yes, you lose some ground on this side of the map, on any given map, but you look to take ground on the other side of the map? Is it a bit of a seesaw effect?
It has to be a give and take, unless you're setting a trap and you want your opponent to step in it.
Okay.
I think one of the greatest skill in Counter-Strike is the ability to take different kind of stimuli, different kind of information, and piece together a picture. And this is where teams actually truly shine, and this is where they all play their opponents, because they're being given information here and there. It could be the smokes Yenko is talking about, it could be the flashes, but then the name of the game, the war of attrition, is to have your opponent paint a fake picture. And if you can't, how do you find that? You get information, you have it out, you hear a couple of flashes, you ask for a teammate to flash for you, you just sneak in, you see nobody, then you know, and you're piecing it together. And this is why we talk about teams being too passive, and that's a risk. Because when you play too passive, you basically accept that you're never going to peek behind the curtain. You're taking all information at face value, and you don't know what's behind it. And it puts a lot of pressure on individuals.
We had this issue in FaZe for a little while. Like, we lost some games on Mirage and City side. Like, we have good moves, and we're in a 5v4. And like, I'm standing behind the team, I can't speak obviously in the tournament area, and I'm like, we're feeling uncomfortable, and we have a man up because we're playing like passive, we're playing to the advantage, we're playing so passive, we're giving them too much space that we're actually in a bad position being a man up. So yes, you want to play the numbers and the advantages, but you have to be careful about how much space you give to your opponents. How many times have you seen a 3v5 T side B execute on Inferno
and
works? Because they're playing coils and CT, and they get behind the execute, behind the smokes, right? And then just a post plant, all per new boxes, and they win the round.
So let's bring it back full circle. Now that we've kind of broken this down and explained it to you Barney style in a way that we can all understand. Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. We got the Crayolas out. We really got it done there for just a few seconds. Yes, there was a bit of a tech delay, a bit of a stage malfunction, if you would. But then we go on. I bring it back full circle to what is the grand finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Rio Major. It does bring us to Heroic Outsiders with Mirage first, Overpass second, and again, Inferno third should we need it. Only a best of 3. You only got to win 2 maps in a best of 3, because guess what? That's how it works. In doing so, Maniac, has anything changed in the past 15 to 20 minutes in your mind?
No, it hasn't. I had Outsiders when we started this pre-show. The veto hasn't changed. I'm still sticking it. I don't think it has changed. Has anything changed in your mind?
A couple things over the course of the time. Yeah, no, but really, you got a point, buddy.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, as I said, Outsiders are the better all-around team. Their individuals have been playing better. Yes, you can argue that the stats are maybe a little bit skewed because Heroic on paper faced potentially some tougher oppositions, but I think just it doesn't matter with the way Outsiders have been playing. They really look like they're playing with confidence, but not overconfidence, right? And that's an extremely powerful position to be in as a team, and that's why I think they're going to win this grand final.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just right there for the taking, sort of. Like, it is right there for the taking. Ultimately, out there somewhere amidst this gigantic arena, we do have James Banks, who is probably interviewing somebody. Who you got, James?
Oh, yes. I'm down here with the crowd as we're waiting for this game to get started. And I found a man here. You had a nice experience in how you got your Heroic jersey. So how did that happen? Explain the story, mate. You've been here since the first stages. You've come all the way through.
Yeah. I got here like on the Legends Day, like a common Legends Day. And like the moment I arrived, Donna from 1Pixel found me. He said, "Oh, I know this guy. Then she interviewed me for like, I don't know, she asked some questions about CS. And then the person who answered the 3 questions right will win a free jersey. And I got the Heroic jersey. And just after the game, Liquid versus Heroic, I got all the Heroic team to sign it. It was an amazing moment. Like, I talked to everybody on the team. They're great guys. I'm cheering a lot for them today. It's going to be amazing.
Now, I've got a serious question. Were you a Heroic fan before they gave you the shirt?
Yeah. I mean, I got all my friends here at Proof. Were I a Heroic fan before the major here?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you know, I said Caden is one of my biggest inspirations to play the game. I'm an AWPer, like, he's one of my biggest inspirations, like, his personality, his, like, style of playing, I really love this guy. He's amazing. I'm cheering a lot for him and Heroic's team as well.
And what does it mean to you to have the major here in Brazil and be able to see these players, get the autographs and things like that? Because I know it's something so special to you guys.
Yeah, like I'm dreaming for this moment, like, for, I don't know, 8 years, 7 years, the moment I started playing CS. You know, I'm 19 years old, I'm young, I didn't get the I don't know, land times, no, 1.6 times, but since I, like, got my first contact with CS, I fell in love with the game, and I'm dreaming about this moment, like, for years, and being here, being all my friends here is, like, a special moment. For me, it's amazing to have, like, be here, see, like, all the legends here. Like, I talked to all of Meister Forrest Freiberg, like, yesterday, like, what the hell am I doing here? I was, like, so surprised I'm, like, talking to these legends. I never, like, thought of meeting these guys, and yeah, it's amazing. Like, for me, it's undescribable feeling, yeah.
And just before the grand final, we saw the announcement that we'll be getting an IEM Rio for next year. Are you happy for that?
Yeah, of course, man. Like, I'm being, like, all the days that I can, I'm here. Like, I know everybody, like, wants to be here. It's a dream, not only for me, but, like, all this gigantic community of the Brazilian CSGO, they want to be here. It's a dream for everybody to be here. Like, thanks ESL for, like, making this dream come true here. And, like, I hope we can, like, be here together more years, more majors as well, and repeat this experience. You guys are seeing, like, history here. This is unique, and I hope you guys repeat it. You see how this crowd goes crazy with everything. This is Brazil, guys. This is Brazil.
This is Brazil, and this is the major. Let's get back to the desk and let's get into the game.
Yeah. Let's go!
Yeah, he said it pretty good right there, but ultimately the big lesson for me is don't let your dreams be memes. At this point, there are no memes on the table. We're talking about cold, hard Counter-Strike in the best-of-3 format. Again, grand final. I'm told that the fixes are in place. Everything has been kind of put there, and we're just a few minutes.
We sent Yenko, and he's got the job.
Yeah, I saw you get your tool belt out. You're ready to kind of get it to work, weren't you, Yenko?
I definitely got the belt out, Trace.
Oh, no,
I made
not
quick
like
work of it.
Oh, look at that. Somebody got a gold coin. Yenko, thoughts?
I can only watch that with sadness.
But never touch it.
Sage.
Just dream it.
Speaking of sadness, that is actually what will come at the conclusion of this one. So again, guys, I've asked you for your predictions. There's nothing there. I don't have to ask him for them again. But if you want,
it's James time, baby. It's James time.
Okay,
it's coming. It's happening.
Well, perhaps we do it to it, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. Just running you through it one more freaking time before we jump into the game. We're talking Mirage, Overpass, and Inferno, should we need it. Heroic, the Outsiders, and a story for the ages. Two teams you didn't think were going to make it to the final, then somehow slipped, tripped, and fell all the way through a bracket and got into that big stage at the very end of the tunnel. The road to Rio culminated to this. 24 teams, down to just 2, and only 1 can win because that's exactly how competition works. And without any further ado, I present to you the major grand finals, commentated by that of Sponge and Machine.
A grand final that starts on Mirage. These two squads, both greater than the sum of their parts, bare knuckle brawling for a major title. We've got the honor of telling you the story as it unfolds. No one knows where this one goes, Chad, but it's going to be a whole lot of fun finding out. Now, Outsiders bring the attack into the start of our affair. Heroic to receive them on the defense.
Yeah, stylistically, that's been the conversation. Difficult to tell how this one's going to mesh here in the best of 3, but out the gates we go, and in the hands of Kick It is the utility of Smoke and a Flash, and everybody heading straight towards Ace. Down and Shush over towards Ticket to receive them here. It's a 3-man B stack, so if the attack comes soon, it's going to be on these two to ward them away.
Yeah, but Stown is sharp as attack. He's put him on the headshot angle. He's got Shush in support as well. Now, it's not ready for the Palace fight. That's Shush's responsibility. It's James that's jiggling. Perfect flash. Wow. Straight to the face from the Glock. Goosh. And on the way back is Flip. Knocks down 1. Rotates in. Fame taking a duel, and he wins them both with Flip by his side, who frags everyone. 3 on the pistol to mow down the Heroic defense. Bomb down, round lost, unless Yabi can get anything done. It takes him a full 12 bullets, but Norbert gone. Be hard pressed to do much more. No kit, got to find 2 more. Dancing around triple, dancing around the default, and that's the end of that. Flip for 4. Straight out of the gate, the Outsiders. A statement of intent. Very little to celebrate for Heroic, very little additional cash. I think a single kill is all they have to celebrate.
And a bit of smile on the face there from Fame, who was taken out of the equation here by Kikit's team kill. But the conversation to kick off that round was the fact there's only 2 players here. However, information is power, and Heroic, they seized that. They had that B boost. They knew it wasn't going to be the B play. Cadian was out middle, and the rotation was there. But hitting their shots was outsiders. Full spy back. Scout for Cadian. The highlight of this was some deagles around it. A nice nade forward to chip away at Flit and James.
Definitely something we should highlight is Heroic's utility damage.
They've been bang on. It's been some fantastic work. Look clinical at times on specific matchups. Just go back to that Liquid game, seeing Elige, nades and Molotovs in his face round after round.
Yeah, they're very diligent. You know, it's rare you see wasted lethal utility. Molotovs and nades combined, flashes and Molotovs. It can all be a lethal concoction.
This is the type of round where Heroic want to turn this into the Force by Wars. The back and forth nature.
Not good smokes. It's going to deny the scout. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, obviously not in a rush here, are they?
Does throw out a bit of a threatening flash through that smoke. Now, Yabi will be cleared. Jump. Oh, no need. Actually, Flit again in the feed. And he is feasting upon Heroic. 2 more headshots already. As easy as that. I mean, these can be scary rounds, especially you lose one early, weapons are lost, information is lost, but this has been handled gracefully by Flit.
Yeah, and this heavy rifle investment. You don't want to give too much over, but Shush silences James. They know where he is now. Stan and Cadian are both here over towards this A side as well. It could still get prickly with 35 seconds.
They're coming for him, though. Shush would need to hit a banger, or Cadian as well with the no-scope. Does go awry. Shush using that smoke to his own advantage. Kick it well drilled, not going to succumb. It's again Flit. Man is on one. Kick it again just to secure the round. Yeah, Cadian's going to get nothing done from jungle. A nice try, missed the shot. Evasive strafe, and now he's the one trying to evade the hunt. Yeah, they're hunting him down here, Fame. Flit surging forward, Kick it, trying to cut him off with the pass by going around T-Spawn. They are trying to remove everything here, and Cadian gets deleted by Norbert. And that was one of the keys when we were covering the Outsiders versus Fnatic game, I believe, is how, well, Outsiders, the team who loves to save, were good at punishing exactly that when you wanted to go for it. So not allowing there to be any booby traps going into round number 3. It should be a very light economical here from the Danes. And that was a tidy deagle shot, sure, but it's more of a consolation. And understandably so. It was a lengthy tech timeout before we got underway with play. Oh, the juxtaposition there was funny. All right, well, yeah, as you said, an economical.
I think this is a curious matchup, right? We've been talking a lot about this stylistically, and we're going to have to dig into those details here to explain it to everybody at home. But this game, with Outsiders in the server, it's the perfect team to highlight the importance of Counter-Strike's beautiful details, right? Turning that notch up to 11, milking every single moment, every single detail, every single kill to its greatest advantage. Cadian gets one, but again, it's going to be James just mopping them up. 2 more to find of Shush and Stan, and they're already being dealt with.
But I think what you're referring to as well, it's no better embodied than in these 2 teams. Outsiders have their game. I know we used to dismiss it as a cliche, but there is a lot of depth to that statement if you investigate. You know, Heroic, they've definitely put their own, flavor.
That's a lot of skill being displayed. He's called it off. Oh, yeah. He's got a bit of a little bit more than he could chew right there. And the disapproval of the crowd, he's not happy with that one.
But is it safe to say that though the desk leans Outsiders, even the conversation of a potential 2-0, this should be a marathon, not a sprint? Now, I see Dastan on the mic.
Again, it's been very common for Outsiders to do this, actually. Look, we've got some timeout stats somewhere. Maybe I'll dig into them at half-time here. But they always seem to be taking these timeouts quite early. And this is after the 3-0 start. So Dastan just setting the record straight of how he wants his team to approach. And that combination of Dastan and James, had a chance to speak to Dastan just the other day. I think they've been together for something like 6 years. So the brain trust of this team have great faith in what one another are bringing to the table here. Now, we were talking about the Heroic play style, right? They're about subverting the expectation, but when you're in their server, you're expecting Heroic. That's their modus operandi, right? It is the unexpected. So Cadian on this AWP.
Well, both of these AWPing in-game leaders have whipped it out.
Missed window smoke.
Early. And Stan's just going to stand and bang. If you want to try, James is there. Should he try and clear? Norbert patrolling early B presence. And, oh, this is more than a patrol. This is a forward watch. Shush has got straight ramp control and trying to track on the jumping Flip.
Didn't hit him at all.
Executed. Not a single bullet connects. You can see the reaction, anticipating a Molotov down his gullet. This is mad.
He might get down in the back here. Kick it is coming back, and Shush is not predicting this whatsoever. He's pivoting, but he should be a dead man walking. Kick it hasn't spotted him. Kick it hasn't spotted him. Shush turns around and is going to get the kill. How's he pulled that off?
Nuts from Shush to have such a proactive defense so early into the piece. That signature Heroic. You got a gap. I'm going to leap through it.
And it comes out of one of their more passive anchors, right? Shush, the clutch man. You heard him in the interview with Efia. It was like a lifetime ago now, but talking about how in practice he's been doing the clutch in the service, now wants to bring that more to the officials.
Love that forward positioning from Shush. He's not necessarily the character you'd expect to be up in their grill so early.
But Cadian is, and he might receive Norbert and James now, who have sauntered back over. Fame has been called to the party as well, and Flit, he's the missing piece of this puzzle to come through Connector.
He should have them with the shadow. Norbert, legged, knocks his kneecaps off, and he's not slowing down necessarily. Cadian will have time to reposition. Flashes, spray, Norbert, vicious to take down Shush. And don't forget, Cadian repositions down, catching that mid-presence. They're all now Tetris side. But they're playing Heroic's game. Util out, they'd love a plant. James to provide Overwatch, more damage inflicted through the smoke. Yavi's so close yet so far. Bomb is in. First step in the flowchart. Winnable now. James still alive with this AWP. Not with the health. I mean, James is a clutch king, master on this AWP, and he is facing in towards CT. Will Heroic avoid him? Still a lot of time on that clock. It feels like it slows down on rounds like this. Yavi, good for it. Cadian the same. Nothing for Norbert, that low HP. He has gone for the round the world maneuver. There's a small opportunity if Yavi doesn't hit this clean. Yavi needs it, loses it. Norbert should go down. He's hit every shot. They do get it eventually. There was a threat. And considering he was the one that caught flak early, it's impressive.
And this is where we need to refer to those details, right? A couple of kills like that, where we always talk about the economic impact it's going to have on Heroic here. So their buy coming forward, there will be one available. But chipping away, right, they don't confirm the round. But this is a long game. It's first to 16. It doesn't matter how quick you're out the gate. It doesn't matter if you get to 10 first. And that's the way the outsiders approach Counter-Strike. They understand they're in this for the long run. So a great attempt from Norbert here.
Good to see him online.
Now that proactive nature of Shush right there, that can come from a lot of different elements on this Heroic team. So do we see more of those risky maneuvers, trying to find these gaps, thread the needle? They're going to flash and fight.
4 of them taking mid-control and
no flash.
Complete success to flattened. Flit, Fame, down. Norbert advancing. Very forward position on this, and he's found a gap. There's no one home. Bomb's going down courtesy of James, and they're making a round out of this with a 2-man disadvantage. Heroic favored for the retake, but look at this. Norbert caught out, Tessus aware, and it will just start to peter out, despite that bomb ticking in their favor. Yabi's got the door locked behind you. They'll activate when necessary. They do need to get their ass on towards that bomb. James already catches Yabi. That is impressive. Oh. This is a problem now because Kicker's still on the site and he just needed one more frag. One more frag and the 2v5 could have been a very real. Look how little time was left. Well handled in the end.
Again, another close one, right? Keeping them very honest here. This is the fiery Counter-Strike we'd like to see. Now, there was really no opportunity for James to try and save in that situation. Preempted that flank coming through. Bought them a buffer on the way out, but the fight came too quick. And look, this isn't too much of a worrying sign early in terms of we need to be majorly concerned, but we need to point out some of the stat lines here. Traditionally, for Fame and Norbert in this roster, they're two of the higher performers. Now, they're two of the younger blood as well. This is Fame's first ever major, which means it's first ever major grand final, and he's yet to frag. He is the #1 in the tournament as far as opening kills go on the T side of Mirage. So he is going to be a factor here for them in success.
So not only is he the best on this side of this map, he's now on his first grand final stage at 19 years of age and currently yet to frag. Tessa
changes.
Cadian about to make a lot of impact on this rush. They're throwing bodies into the B site and Cadian's just swatting them away like pesky mosquitoes. Get out. Only one. James and his Kevlar vest going to do his Kevlar best, but we got a fourth, or rather a third.
And a clean one, all right? That's the difference. Now, they were given that opportunity by the virtue of the buy-in. Well, funny this, outsiders haven't gotten away with any saves just yet. So that is also going to be a key factor here with some of these details. When you talk to the players, right, I've had the opportunity to talk to several pros over the last couple of days. I was talking to Magix from Spirit today. I got to speak to Mezzi and Fasha yesterday from Fnatic, nice. Right? And I got to pick their brain about, outsiders, James, and they're talking about Ghost Orbs. You never know where James is going to be with the AWP, but the assumption has to be he's somewhere, and that makes things extremely difficult. And again, it's another risky maneuver from Heroic here, keeping this proactive form. They have two players searching towards a ramp. The B-bomb site was very light on earlier. It's just Tessus, but Cadian's here. But is he here in time? In the first shot, he spotted the cross. One down onto Fame.
Another death for Fame. 5 deaths, 0 contributions. This time handed his ass by Cadian. And they cancel plans. Cadian just rips up that game plan. Says, try again. Try something else. But that is definitely something to keep an eye on in terms of the opener being the opening death. Outsiders maybe missing a component, at least initially.
Well, Norbert is looking exactly like we'd expect Norbert to, right? You see how nonchalant he seems in these interviews. We're just playing our game. James is calling our game. It's like we do in practice, and that's where you want to set your consistent bar, which is something outsiders have for them. But this is the very early stages here. Now, the question is, are Heroic going to be able to break away from the pack? And when we find ourselves in these scenarios right now, right, we got 50 seconds left on the clock, you're thinking, okay, well, they're just going to sit back, but they always go fishing. There's always a little bit of a look in case something happens.
Every round, when it looks like outsiders are down and out, they do seem to make a round out of it. Knocking on Shush's door. Yabi as well. Little less experience on this side of the site, especially on a grand final fight. Yabi dancing with Flit. He's been a very imposing presence. James trying to chip away further as well. Shush has not moved. Look at this. The restraint on him leads to a frag. Should be two. And that's the round locked in for Heroic. But you can see, this is another example. Outsiders will make you work for everything. You cannot relax.
It has to be a part of their gameplay as well, because they're so prevalent with the saving here, that if you lost those 2 opening kills, as they did in the first 20 seconds of the round, you can not just go back to spawn and wait, because they will eventually find out there's no sound, there's nothing across the map, and then they will hunt you. But you need to stay somewhat puffed up, right? In a position where if you do get that kill, if a fight comes your way, if they do come aggressive, you can capitalize. And if you don't, well, then you can save in your safe haven that you've been able to buy yourself.
Is it fair to say as well that teams have got very good at getting information safely?
No, for sure.
Like, at a higher level than we've ever seen.
We've got the jiggle peaks, obviously we've got jump spotting, there's different boosts, using that utility, right? There's a whole lot of different ways, and teams know that once you strafe out for that fight, you don't have to be committed to it. As I said earlier, information is power. Use your teammates. It is a team game here, and we do have a hero AK in the hands of Fame right now.
They're trying to activate him. Just trying to get the sleep out of his eyes and get him with his eyes on the prize. Yabi forward position. Who's responsible for underpass? That's down. You've got a 3-man setup here in mid. Now, Shush will be on the jiggle. Kicker's gone walking and spots him. Surely that alerts outsiders there's likely going to be bodies in mid, and they are still coming. Forward position. Yabi aware and now noted. It's Fame to activate. Down. That was his responsibility, but Fame with that hero AK does hero things. If he could just get another, Fame announces his presence in glory and bloodshed. Cadian tested on window. Tessa's tucks and turns tail. Actually dunks on Fame. That's a big nade from the Dane. Bomb on the back of James. Cadian at the disadvantage, or posted, and that smoke won't last forever.